Hi everybody, I thought today I'd talk about one of the units that's currently on the Destined banner, Alexei. Now while I normally don't plan to ever pull on a Destined banner in the future, as no current units that are out are units that I feel like I must have that will come into a Destined banner, and any future characters that come on debut banners I plan to get. Now, if you've seen my previous video when pulling for Edda, on about 40 pulls in, I got my first legendary and lost the 50-50 to Alexei, so I thought I'd give my opinion on him. I do not have Lily Will, so I won't really have anything much to say for her on a future video unless I get her in a future lost 50-50. But I've had about a week now with Alexei, so I kind of have an opinion on how he plays. So he is definitely a large upgrade to Metha, but they do play completely differently. So he doesn't completely outclass Metha in that there won't be anywhere that you would ever want to use her. Big thing with his kit is he's not a healer in the terms of healing up your team, buffing your team, and taking the hits for your team. He's more of a DPS type tank where he just throws himself out there and tries to do a lot of damage while taking the hits himself. And a lot of that has to do with his trait, where this unlimited resolved portion of it. So when he gets defeated, he returns to battle and recovers a certain amount of HP with no limit of activations. So he can do this infinitely, basically. And so it has a cooldown of 7 turns, but within the kit there is multiple ways that it can be reduced. So one big thing I've noticed is I throw him out there, and usually he'll get jumped by like 2-3 units depending wherever I throw him. He gets killed and then he comes back. Now what makes him really good in the sense is, even though he gets killed and he's back alive with no HP at that point, there's a couple things in his character upgrades that actually make him really good at bringing him back from death, and then also reducing that cooldown so that he can be knocked to 0 again and then come back and survive yet again. In his kit, I have not picked either one of the first 2 rank 1s, just because when I got him, I'm already up to rank 9, and I actually don't have a current need for either of these in my kit on my skills, so I just haven't picked one. If I actually have a need, I'll end up picking one. From what I have read, the general one that I've seen people say you should pick, the priority of the skills would be the fight to the death. Now his big thing is when he goes out there, he gets knocked down, and if he dies, he comes back alive. Now when he's brought back to life, he's in the dying state. So they knock him down, and he stays alive, but he's in the dying state, so he immediately gets a defense and attack increase after he comes back. So he'll actually get this buff quite a bit, especially if you throw him right out there. While the leg slam is just the same thing that Metha has. I mean, it's got its utility, but if you're needing to knock someone around, you might as well use Metha for this. So almost certainly this will be the one I take if a situation arises where I actually want to use it. But currently I have other skills in my kit that I feel that are better for them. So the first one on the rank 3, the one I picked out of this is Wild Howl. So this one is, you're kind of throwing them out there. So this is a debuffing one where he runs out there, you try and get him in a group of enemies, and it does damage equal to 40% of his magic attack, and then it inflicts move 2 and attack 3 to all down 3 to all enemies within 3 tiles around him, and it lasts for 2 turns on the enemies. What this can be really good for in the beginning that I found is if you use the tactic, let me see, I forget the tactic. I think it's not urgent. It's the seeker one here. Yeah, so if you use March command, the big thing with that is where you get the extra ability to walk, but it also lets you, after they use a skill, they can move an additional 2 tiles. So how March command can work really well with him, that I found in that first skill, is you can run into a bunch of enemies. You can run into a bunch of enemies, cast Wild Howl on them, after using March command, reduces their movement and attack, and then you can actually move away from them. And so that way, I mean, you generally will have an issue where not all of them will be able to move at the same, or to close the gap on them. And so he usually can survive just by going in, throwing this out there, and then moving back, and then letting some of your other units maybe move in. And then the reduced attack that they have, I mean, it also helps them stay alive on that first round. So that's just kind of something I've been playing around with that as a quick way to debuff them, so that their damage, at least the enemy's front line, is much weaker. And then on this one, and then the other skill here is just a single target attack that deals 150 damage, and before attacking gets offensive stance, which boosts his physical attack by 40, based on his defense. So this is just a really strong hit. It's not got much utility to it, and one big thing I'm looking for my tanks and anything else more of a utility than actual DPS. So like my barrel's my DPS. She's going to be the one going in there and killing them. And then there's some other future DPSs that I'll be getting. Those will be the ones doing the killing. He's just there to take the damage, put out a little bit of damage, so that way the enemies are weakened for my teammates to finish them off. But he's not meant to be a full-on killer. But he can finish off people. So if they're already low in health, that'll come into play in a skill up ahead here. So when his rank 5 skills, I've picked the Brute Bear Counter. So this is just his reaction. So he performs a strike back when hit by an active attack from the front or side, dealing 70% physical damage to the attacker. And this can be done 2 times per round. So this one is a really nice one. And it synergizes with another one of his skills up above. But just being able to hit back when he gets attacked, because if you're throwing him out there, he's going to be getting attacked multiple times. So you get 2 hits in. And it'll actually synergize with one of his skills up here. So I found that one to be a lot more useful than this one, Curse. The reaction when hit by an active attack, the damage taken is decreased. And when receiving an active attack, it puts vulnerable. So, I mean, this one could be useful if you in certain situations where it can make it where they'll take more damage after they attack. But generally I find that him being able to attack back is a lot more useful because, one, it adds a little bit of the damage to try and finish him off. But it also synergizes with another skill up here, which I'll get to here in a second. Oh, actually, this one's the one that kind of synergizes too. So his rank 7, this one I picked was Gore Drinker. And what this one does is it increases his damage, so he is stronger. So he gets attacked, then he gains Gore Drinker, which buffs his damage by 20%, and it grants 20% lifesteal. And this effect can stack up to 3 times. So he can get all the way up to 60%. And so you can kind of see where this can kind of compound with this. So they attack him, he takes damage, he gets Gore Drinker, which gives him more damage, and then he has some life steal. And so when he strikes back, he'll actually steal some life. So that's quite useful in that aspect. So it's one way he can keep himself alive and do a little bit of damage. But then you have his rank 9 where it even ups it even more. But we'll kind of look. His other rank 7 is where he can do selects one enemy within a cross-shaped range and deals 50% damage and inflicts stunned. So stun's quite useful. So he can be really good in making utility in that aspect where he can stun them for a 10. And then he additionally deals ice AoE damage to all enemies within the 2 tiles around the target, which he gains Warrior Frost for 2 turns, which reduces his damage taken. But to me, he's not all about just complete reduction to damage taken. Now, I may end up in the future wanting to get this, because this has its use. And the Warrior of the Frost, if I get Simona, this can be quite useful with her, because it can actually make it where Simona can put ice out there for him to actually move farther. So I could very well see me, if I want to use him more in the future, using Warrior of the Frost, because he works really well with Simona when she comes out. But on the rank 9, the one reason you also want the rank 7, the Gore Drinker and the Brute Bear Counter is this last one up here. Is it this one? No, not that one. Oh, maybe it's one of his default skills. Okay, so this one's just when he deals 110% damage on his basic attack, and if the target is defeated, so if he kills him with his basic attack, he recovers 1 NRG. So actually, it's actually his default skill that he actually came with that works with these two really well. And that is this skill right here, Whirlwind Axe. So with the bear, with reducing the damage, but with this Gore Drinker passive, so how it works is he goes down, he dies, he has no health, so he's in that, so he's in the dying state, he has no health, but then when he comes back, he's been hit probably 3 times, 2 or 3 times, so he's stacked this 3 times up, so he's got 60% lifesteal. And so if you're surrounded by enemies, after he comes back to life, you use this, use Whirlwind Axe on all the enemies around you, so he deals 90% damage to all enemies within 2 tiles around himself. Every enemy defeated by this skill reduces the cooldown of the trait effect by 1 turn. So that's his recovery, so that's why he can bring himself a lot back to life. But that's not really the big thing about this. The big thing is all these enemies that came in to attack him, you're doing damage to, and even if it's minor damage, it's only 90%, so it's most likely not gonna kill a lot of people unless they're weak to him. But you're doing 90% to hopefully 3, 4, or even 5 enemies, and those enemies that have all attacked him, that knock him down, stacked up his Gore Drinker to 60% lifesteal and 60% damage. So he can very easily brings him back all the way up to 100% health. And so it's extremely useful in keeping him alive. And so this is pretty much his main kit that I might be sticking with. I don't really see I don't see me replacing either of them with guard. He's not there to take hits for other people. And counterattack storm. So strike back is increased by 2, so if someone's hitting him from range, he can hit him from 2. 85. And so it's just more of a counterattack. To me, you dropping the utility of this one and the Gore Drinker is just too much of a loss. And then this counter here, just for his reaction. So these two go hand in hand. Now, if there might be a scenario where I might not want Wild Howl, I don't know, it's a scenario where you maybe don't have the units to throw it on, and maybe you could take this one up here for more counterattacks in that aspect. Because a lot about what he is doing is he does damage to keep himself back alive with that lifesteal. Right now I'm using this axe on him. So if the target's HP is lower than... So I need to probably replace this, because this is the one I just got first. It's the one I have leveled up, and as everybody knows, you're low on Radiant Dust, so I haven't really had the time to level it up. So it might be Hollow Axe I go for. I have to see what his best is, but this one gives him the defense, and he gains a bonus in attack based on his defense and magic. Actually, might be Brutal Axe. When attacking, if the enemy's HP is higher than the character, nor 20% of the target's defense, I may need to get him this one leveled up. I just kind of have to see. I haven't really played much with the weapons. This is just the one I leveled up when I first got it, because I've been using it also on my Raiwa. So I'll kind of have to see where I go with that. But he's an overall good unit. He's definitely a good replacement for Maitha, where Maitha never really does too much damage for me. I've only used her more for a utility to knock people off edges, and then she'll take a hit and she can do a little bit of a healing. But he's definitely significantly better than her as the tank, and I could see me using him for quite a bit, especially until the tier 0 tank comes out, Koka, who has actually healing capabilities and a lot of utility built into buffing up the team built into their kits. And he'll work really well. I do plan, like I've said in my previous video, I plan to pull over Simona. And he'll work really well with Simona in that she can put the frost down. He's not impacted. I don't know if it states it anywhere on... Is it in his trait? Yeah. He ignores the effects of frosty tiles. So Simona's going to put the frost down, which is going to slow the enemies down, and she's going to be slowing them down to a crawl. So if they're slow to a crawl and they can't move, he can just jump in there and hit all of them, and if they're frozen or they're moved down, so you have her you have her putting a move 3 on them, and then you use this, which takes another move 2 on them. I actually don't know if they stack, but if they did, I mean, they're basically frozen in place, so he can be in the front lines in the middle of all the enemies, and they can't even come near him because there's frosty tiles on the ground, and he can just kind of go around and do some damage. So I'll see how that works, because I do intend to get Simona. But yeah, overall he's a good pick. I mean, if you really like the character, I could say you could go for it. I haven't really looked too much into Lilywil. When I'm looking at all the tier lists, she's about on the same level as him. So if you want to go for him, I'd say you could throw a couple pulls on it, but he doesn't feel like a must-have. I mean, Maitha is good enough for now, and I don't see... and I see a lot of good units coming up in the future. Simona already looks really good utility-wise, and she can tank as well. I mean, she has a built-in shield for tanking. And then you have Saphia, you have August, Kokwa, and a couple. There's a few others that I've seen. I mean, it's just back to back to back, really good units on the debut banners. So when it comes to the Destined banner, I would definitely not spend your pulls on this. Just hope that you can get lucky and get them on a lost 50-50, because it works out. One great thing I like about this game is the fact that losing a 50-50 isn't in the world in this game, because a lot of the other gachas I've played, the standard units, they pretty much suck after you get farther in the game, and basically losing a 50-50 is getting nothing. So it was actually a great loss on the 50-50 in this. If I can look at my history. Yeah, so I had Edda. I actually pulled him 40 pulls in, and then 6 pulls later I got Edda, so it actually worked out really well in my last one. And we'll just kind of have to see where we go from there. But yeah, I could see me using him for quite a while, especially when we get Tower of Adversity and we need to have 2 fully built teams. So, I mean, he might be a staple in my teams for quite a bit. So, we'll just kind of have to see. And that'll be pretty much it. And that's my views on Alexei. Overall, good unit. Even though he's lower on most of the tier lists, he does provide a lot of utility, and he can do some damage while also taking the hits for the team. So, alright. Thanks for watching.